behind us. So get a chance, take a look at it, take pictures of it. And now, for the story of that beam, I'd like to invite our past president, Chuck, to come up and tell us about it.
My name is Chuck Cavadini, and as past president of Pequannock Unico, I'd like to thank our 9/11 Memorial Committee and all our groups here for their dedication to making this a successful event. Pequannock Unico is a service organization that was founded 30 years ago this past January. Unico stands for unity, neighborliness, integrity, charity, and opportunity. Our membership consists of Americans of Italian heritage who are dedicated to charity and philanthropic endeavors. As we gather today, this evening, for this memorial service, we are reminded of the many lives lost on September 11th. 18 years ago, in addition to all the lives lost since then fighting this war on terror. We congregate at this location because it is here that we created a monument to honor our fallen friends, family, and service members. You see, on 9/11, one of our original members, Tony Lanive, who worked for Tilcon Quarry, was helping to transport equipment to and from the World Trade Center to help construction survivors. On September 14th, after being there for 3 full days and nights, Tony asked an iron worker for a piece of steel. The iron worker asked what length he would like, and Tony instructed where to cut. After the steel cooled, Tony brought the piece of steel back to Pequannock. The 9/11 Memorial Committee was formed, and the first order of business was to create a monument using the steel that was received from the iron worker. We received donations from Cedar Crest, concrete from Rhea Concrete, and other donations and funds that were raised by Pequannock Unico. We pulled these funds together to create the monument, which serves as a solemn reflecting place to remember all that were lost. It is Unico's honor and privilege to have this monument on display for the benefits of our members and citizens of Pequannock. If you haven't already had a chance to see this monument up close, please feel free to come up after the ceremony and look at it. Once again, thank you for all that helped out to put this together, and all of you coming out to honor the lost souls of 9/11. Good night.
For the last 17 years, I have been doing a prayer and a poem that I'd love to do again, and I think it's appropriate for tonight. I'd like to change up one little item. When we get to the part where we remember, I'd like every person here to join me. At the rising of the sun and the setting of it going down, we remember. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember. At the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember. At the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of the summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too shall live. We remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. As long as we live, they too shall live, and for their part of us, and we will remember them for always. Amen. I'd like to bring up our mayor of Pequannock right now, Dave.
Thank you, Perry. Good evening, and thank you all for attending the 9/11 memorial. For all of us, the phrase 9/11 evokes a solemn meaning and a memory and moment in our history when the world, as we knew it changed forever. For families here in Pequannock Township, the tragedy hit close to home. We remember Mark Zangrilli and Frank Deming, who both grew up in Pequannock Township. Today and every day, we honor their memory and support their families as we move forward without them. Today we remember and honor the many heroes of 9/11. We remember what we learned about ourselves on September 11th, 2001. We saw people choose duty in the face of death. We saw people demonstrate loyalty to friends in the midst of danger. We saw people choose self-sacrifice for the good of strangers. We saw people choosing to spend their final moments expressing their love to their families. We know that duty, loyalty, self-sacrifice, and love still have meaning and prevail in the hearts of the people we live and work with every day. We still live in a time of many complicated challenges, but Americans have always faced challenges, and we have always responded as a nation united in purpose, woven together in the fabric of strong character and resounding commitment to each other and to our country. Let us remember with sadness what took place and continue on with courage and commitment to meet the challenges that lie ahead. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item on the agenda is a moment of silence. So I'd like to start that moment now. Thank you. In remembrance, I'd like to bring up Steve Pequannock, our Executive Vice President of Unico National. Steve?
Thank you, Pequannock Unico. Thank you for the Township of Pequannock. It's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight to speak to all of you. I was going to try and remember what I wrote, but hearing everybody else talk, a lot of it has been said already, so I'm going to read it anyway. As it was mentioned, I'm the Unico National Executive Vice President. I live in Little Falls, where I serve with the Passaic Valley chapter of Unico, which covers Little Falls, Totowa, and Woodland Park. Just a quick synopsis of Unico for those who's never heard of us. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of Unico. I hope everybody has. It's said that we're the largest secret going, but we are the largest Italian-American service organization in the United States. Our motto is service above self, and that's what we like to do. We like to serve our communities locally, nationally, and abroad even. We have 100 plus chapters across the country, with Pequannock and Passaic Valley just being two of them. Our commitment is to serve in any way we can to try and make a difference in anyone's lives, any other organization's lives. Unico translated to Italian means unique. For those that don't know Italian, it's probably the only word that I know in Italian. And the letters of Unico, as Chuck said, I think it was Chuck that said it, unity, neighborliness, integrity, charity, and opportunity. Our national president, I'll be national president overseeing all of Unico next year. I assist him in his endeavors to reach out to the country. And we are in about 12 or 13 states in the United States, all the way from here to California. He's doing the same thing today, and I'm here representing Unico. What does 9/11 mean to Unico? We are here to remember this day from 2001 and to pay tribute to those who lost their lives not only in New York City, but also at the Pentagon and in that field where the plane crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We also remember the thousands of people that risked their lives and their health on that day, and in the weeks and months and years that passed to this day still. We as Unicans all stand in unity with everyone here to honor the freedom that we live for. And I thank the police officers and the firemen who do a fantastic job for us as well. Those letters of Unico, like I said, they came into play when Unico heard of this horrific day back in 2001. Since the inception of Unico in 1922, it'll be 100 years. Right now we're 99 years old serving our country. Individual charities have been recipient of Unico's charity. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been raised for national and international disasters. We just recently raised $50,000 a couple years ago for an earthquake that happened in Italy, where we gave that hospital $50,000 to help refurbish their equipment, their machines, their beds, scanners, everything. So That's what Unico does. We raise money and we give it away. We are totally 100% nonprofit. None of us get paid. We're all volunteers out of our own pocket to do things like this. Typical for 9/11, our Unico national president 18 years ago reached out to all the chapters in the country and he asked for whatever they can do to help. We raised $30,000 in a matter of 2-3 weeks, and we gave that to another organization, the Tunnel to Towers program. That program provides relief for smart homes for those injured in catastrophic events. As we stand here in Pequannock and in many other towns in America, we are all here to remember 9/11, never forget, and again to pay tribute to the many, both deceased and still living. I want to thank Pequannock Unico for the privilege to be here today and to speak on behalf of Unico. And again, unity, neighborliness, integrity, charity, and opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Our next speaker is a homegrown boy. He's a member of Pequannock Unico, and he serves our town now as a lawyer and also as one of our first responders. Robert, come on up.
Thank you, Perry. I was asked to speak tonight about the history of what the Pequannock First Aid Squad did on 9/11 and then a few thoughts of my own. On the morning of September 11, 2001, the volunteers of the Pequannock Township First Aid and Rescue Squad were dispatched to respond to the World Trade Center attack. The plan was that the injured survivors would be ferried from Ground Zero across the Hudson River to Liberty State Park. There they would be triaged and transported to surrounding hospitals, including Chilton Hospital. The First Aid Squad sent 2 of its 3 ambulances and its mass casualty truck to Liberty State Park to aid in this response. Back in town, the new ambulance bays at the First Aid Squad were still under construction, but to a point where there's no roof. There was a roof, but no doors. Members were instructed that the squad would be used as a temporary morgue for those victims who would be transported to Chilton Hospital, but ultimately not survive. However, the massive injured never came. Only 11 people survived the actual collapse to be rescued from the rubble. On September 13th, members of the First Aid Squad were dispatched to Ground Zero, where they triaged and treated a steady stream of other first responders who had sustained injuries from digging through the pile. The members of the First Aid Squad who responded when called upon on September 11th did so not knowing what the day would bring, not knowing where they would be dispatched to, and not knowing when they would return home. They responded because it was their duty to try and help as many people as possible. When I was asked to speak this evening and how 9/11 affected me, the first thing that came to my mind was a thought of how much longer will we be gathering to remember the events of that horrific day. Other communities around us have already stopped their 9/11 ceremonies. It seems like every tragedy has its own saying. We say never forget 9/11. But in today's world, very few remember the main, and a day that shall live in infamy commonly passes without few words mentioned. As we all grow older and our individual memories and our collective memories fade, as crazy it is to think that the babies that were born on September 11th are now adults, the words never forget become more and more important. But saying never forget is not enough. History has shown that while these sayings may last, the true story which they represent loses meaning. So what do we actually mean when we say never forget? For me, first and foremost, we can never forget the victims and the families they left behind. The travelers who took a seat on a random plane for work, vacation, or to visit family. The workers, from the white-collared executives to the blue-collar laborers who were sentenced to death for merely going to work. And last but certainly not least, the heroes who responded to the alarm and walked into the towers as everyone else was running past them. As we live so close to Ground Zero, we must also never forget the survivors. Not only those who escaped the towers and the Pentagon, but those that lived through the harrowing ordeal, and those who narrowly missed having their lives completely altered. My father left his job at the World Trade Center the day before 9/11 occurred. A friend's mother was caught in traffic and missed her flight on United Airlines Flight 93. And another friend's father worked in the World Trade Center but decided to take the day off to play around the Gulf. For them, September 11th is not only a day to never forget the victims, but a day to never forget that they certainly cheated death. Lastly, we can never forget how we all felt, not only on September 11th, but on the following days. Never forget that anger quickly turned to patriotism, that no matter our political, religious beliefs, ethnicity, or orientation, we were all first and foremost Americans. That in the days and weeks following 9/11, we came together as Americans to help our neighbors, to comfort those in need. That in the wake of the most heinous act of terrorism our country has endured, we united to find a sense of normalcy in a world we did not recognize. We can never forget that feeling, that overarching pride that we had not only for our country, but a pride we had in one another. May we never forget all those we lost 18 years ago today. May we never forget all those who still feel the effects of the tragedy of that day. And may God continue to bless America. Thank you.